Okay yung screen, Sir Archie, no? Madungog ninyo may sound kanina.
Opo, opo.
Okay.
Oo.
Yes, sir.
Ah, di pa tayo complete, no?
Sir Max, set up na pa Sir Max sa live sa OBS.
Ma'am Florlyn na lang po. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ay, andito na si Ma'am Florlyn.
Ma'am Florlyn na lang.
Pwede ka na start.
Upgrading na natin YouTube live.
Ay, andito na si Ma'am Florlyn.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Ma'am Flor. Wala pa si Dr. Si Doc Pasha.
YouTube live to Ma'am, ready naman no?
Start na tayo.
Ready na YouTube live.
Ready na, Sir Mac.
O sige, hindi na ako mag-record OBS, kaya naman to sa YouTube.
Di-include mo yung Sir Mac, yung sa
Hindi na ako mag-record OBS, kaya naman to sa
yung
YouTube.
sa Google Meet na platform para makita yung face aside sa screen.
Ah, ang ang link sa unsa doc? Again.
Di-include mo ang itong mga naong na to sa Google Meet.
Yes.
Screen.
Oh.
Yes.
Klaro atong mga
Every
now.
time na mo talk mo, appear siya.
Yes. Oh. Sa side,
Okay.
bali sa gilid sa left side ang ato ang presentations, then sa right side makita kita tanan.
Okay na Ana, nakita na ako sa YouTube.
Okay, you
all
can
set.
you can open actually or share it sa kuan. Gi-share na nako sa ato ang GC para na-link pud mo.
Kaya na si Sir Edwin.
Okay. Mag-set up pa ako ng channel lang. Set up lang ako sa OBS. Mag-record din ako just in case.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir James, in case na mag-run out pag-record po. May basi mag-run out po
Si Doc Pasya ang
Doc pa siya
ako
mag Okay, okay.
Doc Edwin, pa-OBS na lang.
Okay.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to our Data Analytics webinar. Before we proceed with the program, let us first offer a prayer and followed by the singing of the national anthem and UIC hymn, Our Tour.
Gaze on his to me, thou art to me a mother that leads me through the world. Unite thy child forever to Jesus, dearest Lord. To thee unblushed I forgotten for his church, and for my release I give my heart and hand. Immaculate Conception, my dear alma mater, the fairest university, I give thee my salute. I pledge to be forever true to thee and thy flag. I pledge my word of honor to keep thee in my heart, to keep thee in my heart.
Thank you for joining us today. We are thrilled to have you all here as we dive into the world of data analytics. To formally open our webinar, let us welcome our esteemed speaker, Archie S. Gonzaga, for his opening remarks.
Good day, everyone. I am honored to welcome you to today's session on data analytics, a crucial in the field of information technology. With the exponential growth of data in the recent times, organizations across industries are exponential growth of data in the recent times. Leveraging data analytics to gain valuable insights, to make informed decisions, and stay ahead of the competitions. As such, it is imperative that we equip ourselves with the necessary knowledge and skills to navigate the data-driven landscape. In this PhD ITI 620 course, we will also explore the fundamentals of data analytics, including data acquisitions, storage, processing, and analysis. We will also delve into advanced topics such as machine learning, data mining, and predictive modeling. With the guidance of our esteemed faculty and the support of our fellow colleagues, I am confident that we will emerge from this course with a deeper understanding of data analytics and its practical application. So let us begin this exciting journey of learning and discovery. And I wish all the best as we delve into the fascinating world of data analytics.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzaga. Now, without further ado, let us start our program. Our first presenter is James Aldrin S. Estabilio. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our esteemed speaker, James Aldrin S. Estabilio. Mr. Estabilio is a dynamic and dedicated educator who currently serves as a Technology and Livelihood Education TLA teacher at Coronadal National Comprehensive High School in the Coronadal City Division. He specializes in teaching junior high school students, where he is known for his engaging and innovative teaching methodologies. With over a decade of experience in the education sector, Mr. Estabilio has a wealth of knowledge and expertise in his field. He holds a bachelor's degree in industrial education and a master's degree in information technology from the Notre Dame of Marbelle University, where he graduated in 2018 with honors. His impressive academic achievements are a testament to his commitment to lifelong learning and professional development. In addition to his role as a TLE teacher, Mr. Estabilio also serves as a TESDA assessor in Region 12, where he contributes his expertise to help shape the training and development of future professionals in his field. As a speaker, Mr. Estabilio is known for his engaging, insightful presentations. He has a passion for sharing his knowledge and experiences with others. And his presentations are always packed with practical insights and actionable advice. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming James Alderan S. Estabilio as he shares his expertise and insights with us today.
Good day everyone, I'm James Aldrin Estabilio, taking up Doctor of Philosophy and Education, major in Information and Technology Education. Today, I'm going to share it with you, a data analytics based on the research title that I'm going to present it with you. The research entitled Assessing the Effectiveness of a Religion Class Program for KNCHS Junior High School TLE Students on Academic Performance Using the T-Test Analysis. Educating learners is the core reason for all teaching learners processes which is undertaken in each classroom in the formal education platform. However, not all students can accommodate the learning processes, and this results with the different outcomes. With this in mind, teachers need to create an intervention plan and not let these other students fall behind and still catch up with the lessons being discussed. A remedial class is always an impressive way to solve this common problem. In KNCHS, we have 15,000 students enrolled with a ratio of 1:50 students in a classroom with limited number of hours per subject. Considering that double shifting is implemented this school year due to the huge number of students officially enrolled in our school. Teachers need to do extra efforts to supplement their teaching from time to time. Remediation activities as one guarantees education assistance to those children who are low performers and absentees. This ensures better academic performance for all the pupils or students who are at risk of dropping out and failing. Besides, resolve that an intervention integrating both the growth mindset and stress mindset is not more effective than a single growth mindset in assessing middle school students with outlook. In the school's division of Coronadal City, low academic performance is observed among students in technology and livelihood education and other subjects. In fact, the division overall rating is previous National Achievement Test or the NAT is only 48 up to 51%. This result is far from the minimum passing rate of 75%. This is the main reason that our school had decided to conduct a remedial class to augment the school's initiatives to increase their academic standing and reduce the number of dropouts. For the objectives, this data analytics is to assess the effectiveness of remediation activities to the academics performance of TLE grade 9 students for the first and second quarter. This data analytics would reveal if there is a difference between the students' performance after the remediation intervention. This data analytics would address the issue on how the school could lessen the number of school dropouts and help the students improve in their performance in the subjects of TLE. For the research questions, number 1, is there a significant difference in the academic performance of students in TLE subject after the remediation activities? Number 2, is there a significant difference between the students' academic performance in TLE subject for the first and second quarter when grouped according to gender? And for the null hypothesis, HO1, there is no significant difference between the student academic performance in TLE subject for the first and second quarter. HO2, there is no significant difference between students' academic performance in TLE subject for the second quarter between male and female students. For the justification, in the school's divisions of Coronadal City, low academic performance is observed among students in TLE and other subjects. In fact, the division overall rating in previous national achievement tests is only 48 to 51%. This result is far from the minimum passing rate of 75%. This data analytic could augment the school's initiative to increase their academic standing. Remediation provides avenues to acquire the competencies that our learners needed to be equipped and ready for the next of their endeavor, as stipulated in the Department of Education DepEd Order Number 73 Series of 2012. For the data collection, the data collected from the TLE teachers involved and sought the result of the first quarter grades. With the low results of the students' first quarter grades, same students' data used in the second quarter, but with the remediation activities in class. The data that is used in these analytics are taken from the grade 9 TLE students and in one of the biggest secondary schools in Region 12. It is limited to the first and second quarter grades and TLE of 100 grade 9 students enrolled in KNCSS Junior High School. The student ages ranging from 14 to 15 years old, both males and females. Let's proceed to the analytical method. The results of this study was encoded, tabulated, and treated statistically using the Microsoft Excel and the JAST software. This data employed a paired sample t-test and independent t-test to describe any significant difference between the two groups. A JAST software is used to analyze the gathered data for the analytics. The grades of the first and second quarter were compared and analyzed based on the computed p-value. For the audience implications of the study, Department of Education top management may use and adopt these strategies for the promotion of higher academic perspective. For the school heads and teachers, could adopt the use of remediation activities as part of the teaching methodology of teachers to increase students' performance. School heads may include remediation workloads in their school learning activity cell or the SLAC for the promotion of higher academic performance learners in all the subjects. And for the stakeholder parents, it can give constructive feedback to parents on how they can further support their child's learning and development. And for the students, it helps students improve their academic performance by providing additional instruction, support, and practice in specific subject or skills where they are struggling. So this time, let's check and open our data file. So my data file is already exported into the CSV file so that it could be opened into our JAST file. So here is my first column for the first quarter and the second column for the second quarter. And of course, I have also the data for the male and female. So these are my respondents for the data analytics. So this time we will now going to open our JAST file. So here is the data, or this is my file after opening the file in the JAST file. So all I have to do is first I have to set the data into scale and independent variable is of course the gender. Now first I will going to click the descriptive. So the purpose of the descriptive is for me or for us to know if there is a normality in our data. So I will going to open the first and second quarter and I have to click the statistics. So for the statistics, I only have to click the skewness, the Shapiro-Wilk, the kurtosis, and the mean. So in this case, the mean is 81% for the first quarter, and for the second quarter is 84.790. And for the skewness, so you can see that for the first quarter, it is 0.619. For the second quarter, that is 0.502. And for the Shapiro-Wilk, so the Shapiro-Wilk is 0.8112, and for the second quarter, 0.947. And of course, for the last is the p-value of Shapiro-Wilk. So this time, the Shapiro-Wilk is negative or less than the 0.01. So it means that the data is approximately normally distributed. So of course, we can also check by checking the box plot or the QQ plot and the tables for our box plot. Okay, as you can see, our box plot is normally distributed because there is no outliers in our data. And of course, for the first quarter, the QQ plot, so most of all the data are is within the line. So except for those, but few of them, but most of the data is in the line. So we can say that this is normally distributed. So we can use now for the t-test. So considering that we know that the data is approximately normal, so we will going to click now the t-test. So what is now the t-test? The t-test is a statistical test that is used to compare the means of two groups. So it is also often used in hypothesis testing to determine whether a process or treatment actually has an effect on the population of interest or whether the two groups are different from the other. So first is we will have our independent t-test. So what is an independent t-test? So when we say independent t-test, it is used to compare two samples means from unrelated groups. So this means that there are different people providing scores for each group. So the purpose of this test is to determine if the samples are different from each other. So in my case, I have two variable for the second quarter, and another variable unrelated group is the gender, and I will going to click the descriptive. So right after this, we will going to interpret what this data means. And for the paired sample test, so what is the paired sample test? So sometimes it is called the dependent sample t-test. So it is a statistical procedure used to determine whether the mean difference between two sets of observation is zero. In a paired sample t-test, each sample or each subjects or entity is measured twice, resulting in pairs of observation. So we're going to test the first and the second quarter, and now I'm going to click the descriptive. Then right after here, we will going to export this into our statistical data so that we could generate and interpret this data. So for the result and discussion, for question 1, I used the paired sample t-test. So table 1 shows that the academic performance in the second quarter in which remedial class is adopted with a mean of 84.790, standard deviation of 1.986 is greater than the academic performance in the first quarter with no remedial intervention was adopted with a mean of 81.340, standard deviation of 1.451. And for the table number 2, it shows that the p-value is 0.001, which is less than the 0.05. Since the p-value is less than 0.05, then it is statistically significant. There is statistically significant difference between the TLE grades in the first and second quarter. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. Now, for the table number 3, it is the result for the question number 2. I used the independent sample t-test. So it shows that the academic performance of female with a mean of 85.540, standard deviation of 1.644 is greater than the academic performance of male with mean of 84.040, standard deviation of 2.030 in the second quarter. Now for the table 4 shows that the p-value is 0.001, which is less than the 0.05, and since the p-value is less than the 0.05, then it is statistically significant. The TLE grades in the second quarter of male students are significantly different from the grades of the female student. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. Now for the conclusion. So based on the result, one failed paired sample t-test revealed that the academic performance of the academic in TLE for the second quarter, which is the remedial class is conducted, is significantly higher than the academic performance of the student during the first quarter where no remedial class is conducted. So therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. There is a significant difference between the student academic performance in TLE between the first and second quarter. And of course, for the conclusion number 2, based on the result, it was revealed that the academic performance of female students on the second grading has statistically different compared to the academic performance of the male student in the second quarter. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. It was also found out that the academic performance of female students is higher than the academic performance of the male students in the second quarter. So for my recommendation, conduct furthermore study with recommended size considering limited number of data to one section per school. The result would be more reliable if there were more participants included in the study. The duration of the study only covered 2 grading periods because this would have been more practical if the measures were done for the school year to decide if the intervention really worked out substantially for the students who are participated in the study. And another is plan activities or remediation in order to give the mixed students the chance to at least get higher or equal grade like the female students. For the teachers who continuously attend more trainings and seminars on different teaching strategies in TLE for better teaching competencies. So thank you for listening and good day.
Our next presenter is Archie S. Gonzaga. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our esteemed speaker, Archie S. Gonzaga, LPT MAED. Mr. Gonzaga is a dedicated educator with a passion for flexible learning and the use of technology to enhance the educational experience. He currently serves as the coordinator of flexible learning at SHC ICT and as a college instructor at the Philippine Women's College of Davao. With over a decade of experience in education sector, Mr. Gonzaga has developed a wealth of knowledge and expertise in his field. He holds a license for professional teaching, LPT, and a master's degree in education, MAED, which has allowed him to deepen his understanding of the best practices in teaching and learning. Mr. Gonzaga's work as a coordinator of flexible learning and college instructor has earned him a reputation as an innovator in his field. He is passionate about exploring new ways to engage students and improve their learning outcomes through the use of technology and other innovative teaching methodologies. So without further ado, join me in welcoming Archie S. Gonzaga, LPT MAED, as he shares his insights and experiences with us today.
Good day, everyone. I'm Archie Gonzaga, taking a Doctor of Philosophy in Education major in information technology integration. Today, I'm going to share with you a data analytics based on the research title that I'm going to present it to you. The research title is Assessing the Impact of Class-In Learning Management System on Students' Learning Outcome. Now, the rapid development and expansion of technology has transformed the way education is delivered and accessed with the increasing adoption of learning management system as a tool to enhance students' learning outcomes. Among the learning management system available, ClassIn has gained significant popularity due to its features such as live streaming, interactive whiteboards, and collaborative tools that simulate traditional classroom environment. However, despite its widespread use, the impact of the ClassIn on students' learning outcome has not been extensively explored in the literature. It is essential to assess the effectiveness of ClassIn in enhancing student learning outcomes, as it has the potential to improve educational outcomes and increase access to education. Therefore, the aim of this research is to assess the impact of the ClassIn learning management system on students' learning outcome. Specifically, the study will focus on exploring the impact of the ClassIn on the variables of orientation process, navigation, accomplishing tasks, learning process, feedbacks, and learning support, which crucial determinants of the academic performance. So by examining the relationship between these variables and students' academic performance, this research will provide an insights into an effectiveness of ClassIn in enhancing student learning outcomes. The findings from this study will have an insights implication for educators, policymakers, and learners, and it will provide an insights into the potential ClassIn as a tool for enhancing students' self-efficacy, motivation, and effectiveness, and insights into the potential ClassIn as a tool for enhancing students' self-efficacy, motivation, and effectiveness can inform decision to an adoption and integration of the ClassIn in an educational institution and contribute to the body of knowledge and on the impact of the learning management on the students' learning outcomes. This time, here are my objectives of the analysis, which entitled Assessing the Impact of the ClassIn Learning Management Systems on the Students' Learning Outcomes. These are the following objectives. Number one is to determine the effectiveness of the ClassIn Learning Management System on students' learning outcome. Second, it aims to address the issue or whether or not to use the ClassIn has a positive impact on students' learning outcomes. The following research questions. One is the impact of ClassIn Learning Management System on students' learning outcomes in terms of orientation process, navigation, accomplishing tasks, examinations, learning process, feedback, and support. Second, how does the use of ClassIn impact the orientation process for students, and what is the level of student satisfaction with this aspect of the learning management system? Third, to what extent does ClassIn improve navigation for students in accessing course materials and resources, and how does this impact their overall learning experience? Fourth, what is the relationship between the use of ClassIn and students' performance in accomplishing tasks and performing well in examination, and how does this compare to traditional teaching methods? Next is how does the use of ClassIns affect the learning process of the students in terms of engagement, comprehensions, retentions, and the course materials, and that are the key factors that contribute to these outcomes. Next question is what is the effectiveness of the feedback provided through ClassIn on students' learning outcomes, and how does this compare to other feedbacks, methods, used in traditional learning environments? Lastly, to what extent does the support provided through ClassIn impact students' learning outcomes, particularly in terms of academic performance and course completion rates? And what are the most effective support mechanisms for students using the system? So, to answer the following questions, here are the statistical treatments to be used. One is the descriptive statistics, such as means, standard deviations, frequency distributions can be used to analyze the level satisfaction with the orientation process, navigation of the class in, as well as the effectiveness of the feedback and support mechanism provided by the system. Two, which is the ANOVA or analysis of variance that can be used to compare the performance of students using ClassIn in accomplishing tasks and examinations with those using traditional learning methods, as well as to identify in any significant differences across different students groups. Third is the correlational analysis that can be used to examine the relationship between the use of ClassIn and student engagements, comprehension, retentions of course materials, as well as to identify the significant relationship between the variables. And we also have the regression analysis that can be used to predict the impact of the ClassIn on students' learning outcome, as well as to identify the most effective support mechanism for students using the system. Overall, the combination of a quantitative methods such as surveys and data analysis can be used together and analyze this data on the impact of the ClassIn on students' outcome with the aim of providing an insights into an effectiveness of the system and identifying areas of the improvement. Now, the issue of assessing the impact of ClassIn learning management system on students' learning outcome is interesting because of the increasing importance of technology in education as more schools and universities shift towards online and hybrid learning models. It is essential to understand the effectiveness of digital learning tools such as ClassIn. The answers obtained from this study will contribute to the existing knowledge by providing an empirical evidence of the impact of ClassIn on students' learning outcomes. This evidence will help educators, administrators to make informed decisions regarding the implementation and the use of ClassIn in their educational settings. The study is relevant because it addresses the need of the evidence-based decision-making in education by providing data-driven insights into the effectiveness of ClassIn. This study can also help improve the quality of education and enhance students' learning outcomes. Additionally, the results of the study may inform the development and improvement on other learning management systems and digital learning tools. So to assess the impact of the ClassIn learning management systems on the students' learning outcomes, I may collect various types of data such as the following demographic informations and students' feedback surveys. This data may be collected from the students who have used ClassIn. The best source of this analysis is likely to be the data collections from the randomized controlled trial, where participants are randomly assigned to the either used ClassIn or none. This design helps to reduce the selection bias and ensure that any observed differences in a student's learning outcomes can be contributed to the use of the ClassIn. However, there may be limitation of this data source. For example, it may be difficult to control for an external factor that could impact students' learning outcomes, such as differences in teachers' quality or access to resources. Additionally, the data collected may not be generalizable to other educational contexts or students' population. Another potential limitation is the reliability and validity of the measures used to assess students' learning outcomes. And it is also important to ensure that these measures are appropriate for the educational setting and the objectives of the study. Overall, while there may be limitations of the data source using the randomized controlled trial and carefully selected measures that can help to ensure the validity and reliability of the findings. The following statistical treatment are used, such as descriptive statistics such as mean, standard deviations, and frequency distributions can be used to analyze the level of satisfaction and the orientation process and navigation of the class E, as well as the effectiveness of the feedback support mechanisms provided by the system. I'm going to use ANOVA analysis of variance that can be used to compare the performance of students using Class E in accomplishing tasks and examinations with those using traditional learning methods, as well as to identify any significant differences across different students' group. Another one is the correlational analysis that can be used to examine the relationship between the use of Class E and students' engagements, comprehensions, retentions of the course materials, as well as to identify any significant relationships between the variables. Finally, I will use the regression analysis that can be used to predict the impact of the class in on students' learning outcome, as well as to identify the most effective support mechanism for students using the system. To answer the SOP or statement of the problem or research question number 1, what is the impact of the Class E learning management system on students' learning outcomes in terms of orientation process, navigation, accomplishing tasks, examination, learning process, feedback, and support? So based on the results provided in the given subsection, it can be concluded that the Class E learning management system has a significant impact on students' learning outcomes in terms of orientations, process, navigations, accomplishing task examination, learning process, feedback, support. The linear regressions model shows that all independent variables, including orientation, process, and navigation, accomplishing tasks, examination, feedbacks, and the learning support significantly predict the independent variable, the learning process, with an R-squared value of 0.442. This indicates that 44.2% of the variance in the learning process can be explained by independent variables. The ANOVA coefficient shows that the regression model is significant with a p-value of less than 0.001. This indicates that the model is a good fit for the data and that and that is the independent variables are significant predictors of dependent variables. The persons are partial correlation show that all independent variables are significantly correlated with the dependent variable, with the correlation coefficient ranging from 0.0888 to 0.275. This indicates that all independent variables have a positive relationships with the dependent variable, and that they are all important predictors of the learning process. The variance proportion shows that the independent variables are important predictors of the learning process, and that they are explaining a significant amount of the variance in the data. Overall, these results suggest that the class in learning management system has a positive impact on students' learning outcomes in terms of orientation process, navigation, accomplishing task examinations, learning process, feedbacks, and support. The use of the learning management systems can help students to better orient themselves to the course materials, navigate through the course content, accomplish tasks and exams more effectively, and receive feedback and support that can enhance their learning process. It is also important to know that the results of this analysis are based on specific data sets and may not be generalizable to all contexts. To answer the research question number 2, how does the use of class impact the orientation process for students, and what is the level of student satisfaction with this aspect of learning management system? So based on the results provided in the given subsection, the use of the class has a significant positive impact on the orientation process for students. The orientation process variable has a positive correlation with the dependent variable learning process with the correlation coefficient of 0.093 and a p-value of 0.002. This indicates that the orientation process is a significant predictor of the learning process, and the use of class can help students or a better orientations in themselves to the course material. So this feedback will provide valuable insights into how students perceive the orientation process in Class E and how it compares to other learning management systems or traditional classroom settings. Nevertheless, the results of the statistical analysis suggest that the use of Class E can have a positive impact on the orientation learning process for students, and that is the significant predictor of the learning process. This also highlights the potential benefits of using a learning management systems like Class E, which can provide students with a structured and organized approach to learning and help them navigate through the course content more effectively. Now, to answer the statement of the problem or the research question number 3 and number 4, to what extent does Class E improve navigation for students in increasing or accessing course materials and resources, and how does this impact their overall learning experience? Or what is the relationship between the use of Class E and students' performance in accomplishing tasks and performing well in examinations, and how does this compare to traditional learning methods? To answer the following questions, based on the results provided in the given subsection, the use of the Class E has a significant positive impact on navigation for students in accessing course materials and resources. The navigation variable has a positive correlation with the dependent variable learning process with a correlation coefficient of 0.121 and a p-value of less than 0.001. This indicates that the navigation variable is a significant predictor of the learning process, and that the use of Class E can help students to navigate through the course content more effectively. The accomplishing task exams variable also has a positive correlation with the dependent variable learning process with a correlation coefficient of 0.201 and a p-value of less than 0.001. This indicates that the accomplishing task exams variables is a significant predictor of the learning process, and the use of the class in can help students to accomplish tasks and perform well in the examination. Nonetheless, the result of this statistical analysis suggests that the use of class in can have a positive impact on the navigation and students' performance in accomplishing tasks and performing well in the examination. The highlights the potential benefits of using learning management systems like ClassIn, which can be provides the students with a structured and organized approach to learning and help them to navigate through the course content more effectively. Now, to answer the statement of the problem or the research question number 5 and number 6, what is the effectiveness of feedback provided through ClassIn on students' learning outcomes, and how does this compare to other feedback methods used in a traditional learning environments? To what extent does the support provided through ClassIn impact students' learning outcomes, particularly in terms of the academic performance and course completion rates? And what are the most effective support mechanisms for students using the system? So to answer the following research questions, the given subsections provides information on the impact of feedback and support provided through ClassIn on students' learning outcomes. The feedback variable has a positive correlation with the dependent variable learning process with a correlation coefficient of 0.129 and a p-value of less than 0.001. This indicates that the feedback variable is a significant predictor of the learning process and that the feedback provides through ClassIn that can have positive impact on student learning outcomes. However, the given subsections that not provide information on how the effectiveness of feedback provided through ClassIn compares to the feedback methods used in traditional learning environments. So, the learning support variable has a positive correlation with the dependent variable learning process with a correlation coefficient of 0.269 in a p-value of less than 0.001. This indicates that the learning support variable is a significant predictor of the learning process, and the support provided through ClassIn can have a positive impact on students' learning outcome. The variance proportion shows that the learning supports variable is one of the most important predictors of the learning process, explaining 27.5% of the variance in the data. This also highlights the potential benefits of providing supports to students through learning management system like ClassIn to determine the most effective support mechanisms for students using the system. So overall, the results of the statistical analysis suggest that the feedback supports provided through ClassIn can have a positive impact on students' learning outcomes. Therefore, the given subsections also provides information on statistical analysis of the relationship between the dependent variable learning process, independent variables, orientation process, navigation, accomplishing task exams, feedback, and learning support. The analysis includes the model summary of ANOVA, coefficients, collinearity diagnostics, variance proportions, partial correlations, linear regressions, and collinearity statistics. The linear regressions model shows that the independent variables significantly predict the independent variable with an R-squared value of 0.442, indicating that 44.2% of the variance in the learning process can be explained by independent variables. Therefore, the ANOVA coefficient shows that the regression model is significant, with a p-value of less than 0.001. This indicates that the model is good and fit for the data, and that is the independent variables that are significant predictors of the dependent variables. The collinearity diagnostic shows that there is no multicollinearity among the dependent variables, with the tolerance values above zero point 0.2 and all VIF values below is 5. This indicates that the independent variables are not highly correlated with each other and that they are all contributing to a unique information to the model. The person's R's partial correlation show that all independent variables are significantly correlated with the dependent variable with no correlation coefficient ranging from 0.088 to 0.275. This indicates that the independent variables have a positive relationship with the dependent variable and that they are all important predictors of the learning process. The variance proportion shows that the first dimensions, which includes the independent variables, explains that 5.887 of the total variance in data. The second dimension explains an additional of 0.033 of the variance, and the third dimension explains an additional of 0.024 of the variance. This indicates that the independent variables are important predictors of the learning process and that they are explaining a significant amount of the variance in the data. So overall, the results of the statistical analysis suggest that independent variables, orientations, process, navigations, accomplishing tasks, exams, feedbacks, learning supports are all significant predictors of the dependent variable and learning process. The analysis shows that there is no multicollinearity among the independent variables and that they are all contributing to a unique information to model. The results also suggest that the independent variables are explaining a significant amount of variance in the data and that they are all important predictors of the learning.
Makita ka dagagagi ka. Nakasupan ka pagit.
Hello, good afternoon. We have a technical problem.
Good afternoon, Doc.
While we are waiting for Doc Jason, let's have an icebreaker so that we can stand. Is it okay? Okay, I will share a YouTube video and then let's follow this. Can you see my screen? Okay. Okay. So, okay na ba? One more.
Murag mag-share of talent si Doc Audrey. Mag-share of talent
This
si
indicates that independent variables are not highly correlated with each other and that they are all contributing to a unique information to the model. The person's R's partial correlation showed that all independent variables are significantly correlated with the dependent variable with no correlation coefficient ranging from 0.088 to 0.275. This indicates that the independent variables have a positive relationship with the dependent variable and that they are all important predictors of the learning process. The variance proportion shows that the first dimensions, which includes the independent variables, explains that 5.887 of the total variance in data, the second dimension explains an additional of 0.033 of the variance, and the third dimension explains an additional of 0.024 of the variance. This indicates that the independent variables are important predictors of the learning process and that they are explaining a significant amount of the variance in the data. So overall, the results of the statistical analysis suggest that independent variables, orientations, process, navigations, accomplishing tasks, exams, feedbacks, learning supports are all significant predictors of the dependent variable and learning process. The analysis shows that there is no multicollinearity among the independent variables and that they are all contributing to a unique information to model. The results also suggest that the independent variables are explaining a significant amount of variance in the data and that they are all important predictors of the learning process. That's all of my data analytics, and thank you very much for listening. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzaga. Our third presenter is Edwin M. Pasha, who will share with us the benefits of predictive analytics.
Good day, everyone. I am Edwin Pasha Jr., a PhD ITI student. So today I am going to present to you my research title, Comparing the Effectiveness of In-Class and Online Learning, a paired t-test analysis of the difference in score. So the COVID-19 pandemic has brought a significant shift in the way education is delivered. So with the closure of schools and universities, students and educators have had to adapt to online learning methods. So while in-class learning has been the traditional way of education, online learning has emerged as an alternative means of delivering education. As we move forward, it's important to understand the effectiveness of both in-class and online learning and to determine which one is better suited to meet the needs of the students. So in this study, we will be using a paired t-test analysis to compare the effectiveness of in-class and online learning by analyzing the difference in score between the two methods. So this analysis will provide a valuable insights into the effectiveness of different modes of instructions and inform decisions about the future of education. So our objectives is to compare the effectiveness of in-class and online learning method. Second is to determine if there is a statistically significant difference in scores between in-class and online learning. The third is to identify the strength and weakness of both in-class and online learning methods. And lastly, to provide insights and recommendations for educators and students based on the results for the analysis. So the issue is being addressed is the effectiveness of different modes of learning, specifically in class and online learning, in terms of student performance. So the question is, first, is there a significant difference in score between students who learn in class and those who learn online? The second, which mode of learning in class or online is more effective in terms of improving student performance? And lastly, what are the strengths and weaknesses of in-class and online learning? And how can they be improved to enhance student learning outcomes? So the justification is the issue of comparing the effectiveness of in-class and online learning is interesting because of the increasing popularity of online learning. especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. So understanding the comparative effectiveness of these two modes of learnings can inform education policy and improve student learning outcomes. So the answer to the question posed earlier will contribute to existing knowledge by providing empirical evidence on the relative effectiveness of in-class and online learning. So this study is relevant because it has practical implications for educators, policymakers, and students. So the data for this analysis will be obtained from 100 selected students of Marcus College of Technology Incorporated who took the same course using both in-class and online learning modes. So Marvelous College of Technology Incorporated is the best source for this analysis because it offers both in-class and online courses in the same subject area. So a limitation of this data source is that it may not be representative of other institution or subject areas. So the accurate statistical technique for this analysis is a paired t-test to compare the means of the two dependent groups, the students who took the same groups using both in-class and online learning modes. So the t-test will determine whether there is a significant difference in the mean scores of the two groups and whether this difference is statistically significant. So the audience for this analysis includes educators, policymakers, and students who are interested in the comparative effectiveness of in-class and online learning. So educators and policymakers can use the result to inform their decision on the mode of learning to adapt, while students can use the results to make informed choices on the mode of learning that is most effective for them. So the first thing that we are going to do is to open the JAST and import the gathered data. Okay, so I already opened the JAST and let's open the gathered data. So here is the score of students who took the in-class and the scores of students who took the online class. But before we start, we have to check first the descriptive. In order, the purpose of this descriptive is for us to know if there is a normality within our data. So we have to first put our variables in this area, and I am going to check the skewness, kurtosis, Shapiro-Wilk, and the mean. So in this area you can see the result. So the mean of the in-class is 38.380, while the online class is 37.350. The skewness is standard error of skewness is 0.241. Same with the online class. The kurtosis is 0.478. Same with online class. The Shapiro week is less than 0.001, which means that it is that or our data is normal. The next that we are going to see is to see the QQ plots and the box plots. So as you can see in the result, there is, or as you can see in our result, that it is normally distributed. So here in QQ Plus, there are some, even though there are some data that not in the line, but most data, as you can see, is in the line. So therefore, we can conclude or we can say that the data is normally distributed. So moving on, let's move to our main goal, which is the paired t-test. So here we are going to just click this t-test. So the t-test is a statistical test used to compare the means of two groups. It is commonly used to determine whether there is a significant difference between the means of two populations based on a sample data. So there are several types of t-test, but the most commonly used one is the two-sample t-test, also known as the independent sample t-test, which compares the means of two independent samples. Another type of t-test is the paired t-test, also known as the dependent sample t-test, which compares the means of two related samples such as before and after measurements on the same individuals. That's why we are going to use a paired t-test. So here you have to click the t-test and click this paired sample t-test. Then we have to put the in-class and online class to the variables. And here you can see the result of the paired sample t-test. Also, we have to check its descriptive. So here is the result. Our p-value is 0.057, and in descriptives, our mean in class is 38.380, while the online class is 37.350. So in table 2, paired sample statistic of in-class and online class. So based on the paired t-test result with a p-value of 0.57, we cannot reject the, which means we cannot reject the null hypothesis at the conventional alpha level of 0.05. So this means that there is no significant difference in the mean scores between the students who took the in-class and online modes of learning. However, it is important to note that the p-value is very close to the alpha level, indicating that there may be a small difference that is not statistically significant due to the sample size or other factors. So therefore, caution should be exercised in interpreting the results, and further investigations may be needed to determine the true difference, if any, between the two modes of learning. So our conclusion based on the paired t-test analysis of the difference in scores between in-class and online learning, the result shows that the mean score of students who took the in-class mode of learning is M is equal to 38.380 and S is equals to 6 37.91 is higher than the mean score of students who took the online mode of learning, which is M is equal to 37.350 and S is equals to 4.635. However, the difference in means is not statistically significant, with a p-value of 0.057, which is greater than the conventional alpha level of 0.05. So therefore, we cannot conclude that certainty that in-class learning is more effective than online learning in improving student performance in this particular course. So the results suggest that the difference between the two modes of learning may be due to chance, and further investigations may be needed to determine whether this is the case. So it is important to note that these results are specific to the subject area and institution from which the data was collected, and may not be generalizable to other subject areas or institutions. So nonetheless, the findings can still provide insights for educators, policymakers, and students who are considering the mode of learning to adopt. So our recommendation, or my recommendation, so based on the result of the paired t-test, which indicates that there is no significant difference in the effectiveness of in-class and online learning modes in improving student performance, the following recommendation can be made. So number one is institutions should consider offering both in-class and online learning modes to accommodate the different needs and preference of students. So students should be provided with informations about the advantage and disadvantage of both modes of learning and given the opportunity to choose the mode that is most suitable for them. Number two, educators should consider the course content and learning objectives when deciding on the mode of learning to adopt. So some courses may be more effectively taught using the in-class mode, while others may be more effectively taught using online mode. So therefore, educators should consider the unique needs of each course and tailor their teaching methods accordingly. Number three, institutions should provide training and resources to educators to support the effective implementation of both in-class and online learning modes. So this can include training on best practices for teaching in different modes, technology, support, and resources for developing course content for different modes of learning. And lastly, further research should be conducted to investigate the comparative effectiveness of in-class and online learning in other subject areas, and institutions to provide a more comprehensive understanding of the factors that influence the effectiveness of different modes of learning. So the result of this paired t-test suggests that both in-class and online learning modes can be effective in improving student performance. So therefore, institutions should consider offering both modes of learning to accommodate the diverse needs and preference of students. While educators should tailor their teaching methods based on the unique needs of each course. So that would be all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Pasha. Our fourth presenter is Jason Ryan A. Pujeda. It is my honor to introduce to you our distinguished speaker, Jason Ryan A. Pujeda. Mr. Pujeda is a dedicated public school elementary teacher who currently serves at the Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School in the division of Davao City. With his unwavering commitment to educating young minds, Mr. Pojeda is known for his passion and dedication to his profession. Mr. Pojeda's impressive educational background includes a bachelor degree in elementary education and a master's degree in education in instructional leadership from a University of Southeastern Philippines, which he completed in 2021. His academic achievements are a testament to his dedication to lifelong learning and his desire to be a well-informed and effective educator. As an elementary school teacher, Mr. Pojeda has a wealth of knowledge and experience in working with young students. He has a passion for teaching and is committed to ensuring that his students receive a quality education that prepares them for the challenges of the future. As a speaker, Mr. Pojeda is engaging, knowledgeable, and passionate about his subject matter. He brings his wealth of experience as an educator to every presentation, providing practical insights and actionable advice that can be applied in the classroom and behind. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jason Ryan A. Pojeda as he shares his expertise and insights with us today.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Ryan Pojeda and I'm a student in PhD ITI 620 Advanced Statistics with Computer Applications. Today I'm going to present my data analytics, which was supervised by my professor Dr. Edna Salva. The title of my presentation is Investigating Predictors of Study Habits Among Pupils in Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School. The primary objective of this data analytics is to investigate the factors that predict study habits among pupils in Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School. To achieve this, I conducted a multiple regression analysis to examine the relationship between study habits and independent variables such as study environment, study materials, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use. Furthermore, I performed a paired sample t-test analysis to compare the study habits of pupils who use study planners in the third quarter with their study habits before using the planner during the second quarter. An independent t-test was also conducted to compare the study habit of pupils who use study planners and those who do not. Research questions. Number 1. Is there a significant difference in study habits between pupils who use a study planner and those who do not? Number 2. Is there a significant difference in study habits between pupils before and after using a study planner? Number 3. To what extent do study environment, study materials, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use predict study habits among pupils in Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School? Justification. The issue addressed in this study is interesting because it can provide insights into the factors that influence pupils' study habits. Understanding the relationships between the study habit and the independent variables such as study environment, study materials, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use can help teachers and school administrators to develop strategies to improve the learning experience of pupils. Additionally, by analyzing the effectiveness of study planner in improving study habits, this study can provide practical recommendation to pupils and their families. Before I discuss the data collection, I want to present the null hypothesis of this study. First, for the independent t-test, the null hypothesis that there is no significant difference in study habits between pupils who use study planner and those who do not. Second, for the paired sample t-test, the null hypothesis is that there is no significant difference in study habits between pupils before and after using a study planner. Third, for the multiple regression analysis, the null hypothesis is that there is no significant relationship between study habits and independent variables, study environment, study materials, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use among pupils in Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School. Data collection. The data collection for this study were collected from a sample of 103 grade 6 pupils who belong to 3 sections of Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School. The data were gathered through a survey questionnaire composed of a Likert scale on study habits and various independent variables, including study environment, study materials, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use. The survey was administered during the second and third quarter of the academic year 2022-2023. Additionally, the paired t-tests were conducted to compare the study habit of the pupils who used study planners in the second and third quarters. The age of the students ranged from 11 to 13 years old, with both male and female students included in the sample. The data were collected with the intent of exploring the factors that may predict study habits among pupils and guide educators in developing strategies to improve study habits in the school. The analytical methods that will be used for this data analytics are the independent t-test, paired sample t-test, and multiple regression analysis using the statistical software JAS. The independent t-test will be used to compare the means between the two independent groups in order to distinguish whether there is a statistically significant difference between the means in two unrelated groups. The paired sample t-test will be used when we are interested in the difference between two variables of the same subject, and these two variables are often separated by time. Moreover, multiple regression analysis using JAS will be employed to evaluate the relationship between the dependent variable and multiple independent variables. Multiple regression analysis is a statistical method that determines the relationship between a dependent variable and two or more independent variables by modeling the relationship between them. The independent t-test, paired sample t-test, and multiple regression analysis using JAS are common statistical technique used in research studies to assess the relationship between variables, and their use is supported by established statistical guidelines. The result of this study can be useful to various stakeholders, including teachers, school administrators, pupils, and their families. By identifying the factors that influence study habit, teachers and school administrators can develop interventions and strategies to improve the learning experience of pupils, such as creating a conducive study environment, providing adequate study materials, and using appropriate teaching methods based on pupils' learning styles. Additionally, the result of the paired sample t-test and independent t-test can help pupils and their families make informed decisions about the use of study planners. The findings of this study can also contribute in the body of knowledge on the factors that affects pupils' academic performance, which can inform future research in this area. So before we're going to proceed to result and discussion, allow me to demonstrate on how I get my result of the data using the JAS application. So to conduct the t-test, let us first load our data by clicking this one, open. Here's my data for t-test, independent t-test. So to conduct the independent t-test, click t-test, independent sample t-test. Study habits as our dependent variable, study planner as our grouping variable. You can also check the quality of variance, the Levens test, can also click descriptive to add more information about the independent sample t-test. That's it. So next, to conduct the paired sample t-test, let us first load our data. So here's my data for the paired sample t-test. Study planner report in second quarter and study planner after in the third quarter. So to conduct the paired sample t-test, just click t-test, paired sample t-test, and put these two variables into variable pairs. You can click descriptive to add more information about our result for the paired sample t-test. Next, to conduct multiple regression analysis, let us load our data. So here's my data for multiple regression analysis. So let's make this one as our scale by clicking this one. Click regression, linear regression, our study habit as our dependent variable, and the independent variable, put this one into covariates. It will show the result of our multiple regression analysis. We can also check the collinearity if there is no collinearity in our variables by checking this one, collinearity diagnostic. It will show the value of BIF. So that's it. Now this time we're going to proceed to result and discussion. Result and discussion. Research question number 1. Is there a significant difference in study habits between pupils who use a study planner and those who do not? The table shows the result of an independent sample t-test conducted in the study habit of pupils who use a study planner and those who do not. The t-value is negative 5.421 with 101 degrees of freedom, and the p-value is less than 0.001, indicating a statistically significant difference in study habits between the two groups. Specifically, the study habit of pupils who use a study planner are significantly different from those who do not. The Leibniz test was conducted to test the assumption of equal variances for the variable study habits. The test resulted in a Leibniz f-value of 2.801 with 1 and 101 degrees of freedom and a p-value of 0.097. Since the p-value is greater than the alpha level of 0.05, we fail to reject the null hypothesis of equal variances. Therefore, we can assume that the variances of the two groups, pupils who use study planner and those who do not, are equal. This assumption being met indicates that the result of the subsequent t-tests are valid and reliable. The table shows descriptive statistic of study habit for pupils who use a study planner and those who do not. The result indicate that pupils who reported using a study planner had a significantly higher mean study habit with a score of 3.742 compared to those who did not use a study planner with a mean of 2.784. Research question number 2. Is there a significant difference in study habits between pupils before and after using a study planner? The table shows the average study habit score for pupils who did not use a study planner before in the second quarter was 2.350 and increased to 3.874 after using a study planner in the third quarter. A two-tailed paired sample t-test was conducted to compare the study habit of pupils before and after using a study planner. The results indicate a statistically significant difference between the two measures, with a t-value of negative 13.615 and p-value of less than 0.001. The mean study habit score before using a study planner with a mean of 2.350 was significantly lower than the mean score after using a study planner with a mean of 3.874. Therefore, it can be concluded that the using study planner is associated with significant improvement in study habit among pupils. Research question number 3. To what extent do study environment, study materials, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use predict study habit among pupils in Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School? The R-squared value of 0.549 in the table highlights that the study environment, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use collectively account for approximately 55% of the variability observed in the study habit of pupils in Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School. The adjusted R-squared value of 0.526 further reveals that the model considered the impact of all these predictor variables on study habit, while also considering the number of predictors included in the model. Therefore, it indicates that the study environment, learning style, motivation, parental involvement, and technology use are important factors that contribute to the prediction of study habit among pupils. The ANOVA table shows that the F-test result is statistically significant with a p-value of less than 0.001, indicating that the model is good fit and there is significant relationship between the predictor variables and the study habits. The table shows the coefficient and collinearity statistic for a regression model predicting study habits. The standardized coefficients show that parental involvement and technology use are the strongest predictors of study habits among the variables in the model. Learning style and motivation have weaker coefficient. Parental involvement and technology use show significant relationship with study habit at p-value of less than 0.001 and p-value of 0.003 respectively. The tolerance and BIF values indicates no multicollinearity issues. These findings suggest that parental involvement and technology use may be important factors in promoting good study habit among pupils at Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School. Conclusion. Based on the result of the independent t-test, there is a significant difference in the study habit of pupils who use a study planner and those who do not. The mean study habit score for pupils who use a study planner was significantly higher with a mean of 3.742 and standard deviation of 0.933 compared to those who did not use a study planner with a mean score of 2.784, standard deviation 0.712, and a p-value of negative 3.198 and p-value of 0.002. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected and it can be concluded that using a study planner is associated with significantly better study habits. Based on the results of two-tailed paired sample t-test, there was a statistically significant increase in the mean study habit score before, with a mean score of 2.350, standard deviation of 1.064, and after with a mean score of 3.874, standard deviation 1.126, using a study planner among pupils. The t-value was negative 13.615 with 102 degrees of freedom, and the p-value was less than 0.001, indicating that the increase in study habit was not due to chance. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected, and it can be concluded that the use of study planner has a significant effect on improving study habits among pupils. Based on the results, parental involvement and technology use have the strongest relationship with study habit among the variables included in the model. Meanwhile, study environment, learning style, and motivation have a weaker relationship with study habits. The model summary indicates that the predictors in the model explain 54.9% of the variance in study habits, with an RMSE of 0.776. These findings suggest that parental involvement and technology use may be important factors to consider in promoting good study habit among pupils in Don Juan de la Cruz Central Elementary School. Recommendations. Number 1. Encourage the use of study planners and provide training on how to use them effectively. The study shows that using a study planner significantly improves study habits among pupils. Therefore, schools should encourage pupils to use study planners and provide training to help them use these tools effectively. Number 2. Encourage parental involvement and promote the use of technology in education. The study found that parental involvement and technology use have a strong relationship with study habits. Hence, schools should encourage parents to be involved in their child's education and incorporate technology in teaching methods. Number 3. Consider the study environment, learning style, and motivation. Although these factors have weaker relationship with study habits, they should still be taken into account when promoting good study habits among pupils. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. My research presentation, titled Assessing the Implementation, Effectiveness, and Relationship between Student Programs and Services in Sultan Kudarat State University, a focus on admission scholarship, food and health services. I am Florly May Cermelio, PhD ITI student. For my objective, first, assess the implementation of student programs and services, including admission services, scholarship and financial assistance, food services, and health services. Second, evaluate the effectiveness of student programs and services, encompassing admission services, scholarship and financial assistance, food services, and health services. And last, examine the relationship between the implementation and effectiveness of students' programs and services. For my research question, first, to what extent are student programs and services implemented, specifically in the areas of admission services, scholarship and financial assistance, food services, health services? Second, to what extent are student programs and services effective, specifically in the areas of 2.1 admission services, 2.2 scholarship and financial assistance, 2.3 food services, 2.4 health services. And last, is there a significant relationship between the extent of implementation and effectiveness of student programs and services? For my research question number 3, null hypothesis, there is no significant relationship between the extent of implementation and effectiveness of student programs and services at Sultan Kudarat State University. For my justification, this study is particularly interesting for Sultan Kudarat State University as it addressed critical aspects of student programs and services within the institution by examining the extent of implementation and effectiveness of various services. The research can identify areas that need improvement and highlight best practices specific to the university. This is critical for creating an environment conducive to student success, well-being, and satisfaction at Sultan Kudarat State University. The answers to the research question will contribute to existing knowledge by providing insights in the current state of student programs and services at Sultan Kudarat State University. This information will be valuable for university administrators, educators, and policymakers who can use the findings to make data-driven decisions to enhance the quality and accessibility of these services for their students. Further, this study is relevant because student program and services play a significant role in the overall educational experience at Sultan Kudarat State University, ensuring that these services are effectively implemented and meet the needs of students contributes to their academic success, personal growth, and overall well-being by identifying areas where improvements are needed within the university. Targeted efforts can be made to address those gaps, ultimately fostering a more supportive and inclusive learning environment at Sultan Kudarat State University. For my data, this study, the researcher aimed to examine the extent of implementation and effectiveness of various student programs and services, such as admission services, scholarship and financial assistance, food services, and health services at Sultan Kudarat State University. The study utilized data from 250 respondents who were exclusively from the main campus of Sultan Kudarat State University. This dataset captures the direct experiences and opinions of the students who utilize this program and services, providing an accurate assessment of the current state of student programs and services at the institution. This dataset is the best source for the analysis as it specifically focuses on the target population of interest, providing insights into the implementation and effectiveness of student programs and services at the main campus. However, there are limitations to consider, such as the potential lack of generalizability to other campuses or institutions, reliance on self-reported data which may introduce response bias, and the possibility of external factors influencing the findings. For my analytical methods in this research, several statistical techniques are employed to address the objectives and ensure a comprehensive analysis. Descriptive statistics, including means, standard deviations, are used to summarize and describe the central tendencies and dispersion of the data. This technique is particularly helpful in determining the extent of implementation and effectiveness of various student programs and services at Sultan Kudarat State University. Furthermore, correlation analysis such as Pearson's correlation is employed to measure the strength and direction of the relationship between the extent of implementation and effectiveness of student programs and services. This approach allows the researcher to explore the significant relationship between these two aspects as stated in the research objectives. Lastly, linear regression analysis is utilized to model the relationship between the extent of implementation, independent variable, and the effectiveness of student programs and services, dependent variable. This technique enables the researcher to determine the effect of implementation on the effectiveness of these programs and services, thus addressing the research questions related to their significant relationship. For my audience, first, university administrators and decision makers. They are responsible for ensuring the proper allocation of resources establishing policies and implementing strategies to improve the quality of education and student support services. Second, faculty and staff. The quality of student programs and services directly impacts the educational environment, student engagement, and overall satisfaction. Faculty and staff are interested in understanding how these programs and services are being implemented and their effectiveness to better support student success. Third, students. Students have vested interest in the quality programs and services offered by the university, as they directly benefit from them. Fourth, parents and guardians. They often play a crucial role in supporting their children's education and well-being. Fifth and last, researchers and educational experts. These individuals are interested in understanding the relationship between the implementation and effectiveness of student programs and services to contribute to the body of knowledge and the field of education and inform the development of best practices.
Let's go to JASP. Click the descriptives and add all the variables. The result panel, let's uncheck this one, the minimum and maximum. And here it is, the result for the research question number 1. For the research question number 2, I will open again the file for effectiveness. Click the descriptives. And uncheck the only missing minimum maximum. And this is the result of the research question number 2. For the research question number 3, I will be using the correlation. I will click the effectiveness and this is the correlation, persons are correlation. Then after that, I'll go to linear regression. Click the effectiveness as dependent variable and covariates the implementation. And this is the result for linear regression to answer the research question.
Result and discussion. First, to what extent are student programs and services implemented, specifically in the areas of admission services, scholarship and financial assistance, 1.3 food services, 1.4 health services. Previously, I demonstrated to you on how to get this result in JASP software. Now, the results and discussion for this is the table 1 shows the descriptive statistics for the student programs and services were analyzed to assess the overall satisfaction levels among respondents. The analysis revealed varying satisfaction levels across the different services. As evidenced by the mean scores and standard deviation, admission services, respondents reported a relatively high satisfaction level with admission services with a mean score of 3.994 as standard deviation is equal to 0.706. These findings suggest that the admission process is perceived to be efficient and well organized, allowing students to access the required services with ease. Scholarship and financial assistance. The satisfaction level for scholarship and financial assistance was moderately high, with a mean score of 3.735. Standard deviation is equal to 0.706. This result indicates that students generally appreciate the financial support provided, although there may be room for improvement in terms of availability, accessibility, or communication about the services. Food services. The mean score for food services was 3.788. Standard deviation is equal to 0.773. Reflecting a moderate satisfaction level among respondents. This suggests that while the food services provided meet the needs of students to some extent, there is a potential for improvement in areas such as food quality, variety, and affordability. Health services. The highest satisfaction level was observed in health services, with a mean score of 4.022. Standard deviation is equal to 0.767. This finding indicates that the health services offered are effective and addressed students' needs and concerns, providing timely support and care when required. For number 2 research question, to what extent are student programs and services effective, specifically in the areas of admission services, scholarship and financial assistance, food services, and health services? The table 2 shows results of the descriptive statistics, provide an understanding of the perceived effectiveness of various student programs and services. Admission services mean is equal to 3.745, standard deviation is equal to 0.661, is seen as moderately effective, with the mean score nearing 4 and a low standard deviation, indicating consistency in student perception. Scholarship and financial assistance mean is equal to 3.416, standard deviation is equal to 0.866, is perceived as the least effective among the 4 services, with the higher standard deviation reflecting more variability in student experiences. Food services mean is equal to 3.609, standard deviation is equal to 0.769, has a moderate mean score suggesting moderate effectiveness, and a relatively low standard deviation, pointing to consistent students' experiences. Health services mean is equal to 3.903, standard deviation is equal to 0.731, is perceived as the most effective services, with the highest mean score and a relatively low standard deviation, denoting consistency in student perception. Overall, health services is perceived as the most effective, followed by admission services, food services, and scholarship and financial assistance. The findings can inform decisions on improving the effectiveness of these programs and services, particularly focusing on enhancing the scholarship and financial assistance offering in Sultan Kudarat State University. For research question number 3, is there a significant relationship between the extent of implementation and effectiveness of student program and services? As you can see, the table 3 shows a person's correlation analysis was conducted to examine the relationship between the extent of implementation and effectiveness of student programs and services. The result indicated a weak negative correlation between implementation and effectiveness. R is equal to negative 0.054 P is equal to 0.392. Given the p-value of 0.392, which is greater than typical significance level, A is equal to 0.005. The observed relationship was not statistically significant, therefore, failed to reject the null hypothesis. These findings suggest that the relationship between the extent of implementation and effectiveness of student programs services at Sultan Kudarat State University may be due to random variation rather than a true underlying relationship. As you can see in the Table 4, the Table 4 shows the results of linear regression analysis. With a sample size of 250, the model was found to be not statistically significant and projecting the effectiveness dependent variable using implementation as independent variable. The model summary showed a weak correlation between implementation and effectiveness. R is equal to 0.52, P is greater than 0.392. The R squared value was 0.003, indicating that only 0.3% of the variance in effectiveness could be explained by the model. The adjusted R squared value was negative 0.001, suggesting that the model's predictive power was negligible after accounting for sample size and predictors. The ANOVA table revealed a p-value greater than 0.392, failing to reach statistical significance, therefore failed to reject the null hypothesis. The coefficient table showed that the intercept had statistically significant coefficient, P is less than 0.001, indicating a predictive effectiveness value of 3.880 when the implementation value is 0. However, the implementation variable was not statistically significant in predicting effectiveness. P is greater than 0.392 at the 0.05 alpha level. For my conclusion, the studies examined the implementation of effectiveness of student programs and services at Sultan Kudarat State University. The descriptive statistics revealed varying levels of implementation across different services, with admission services showing a high extent of implementation in scholarship and financial assistance, food services, and health services, demonstrating moderate extents of implementation. Perceived effectiveness varied with the admission services, rated as moderately effective, scholarship and financial assistance as the least effective, and food services and health services as moderately and highly effective, respectively. However, the correlation analysis found a weak and non-significant relationship between implementation and effectiveness. The linear regression analysis further indicated that implementation did not significantly predict effectiveness. These findings highlight the need for further research to explore additional factors that influence program effectiveness. The study results provide valuable insights for decision-making and suggest areas for improvement to enhance the quality of student programs and services at Sultan Kudarat State University. For my recommendation, based on the findings of the study, the following recommendations are proposed for future research and improvements in the student programs and services at Sultan Kudarat State University. First, further research. Conduct additional research to investigate the factors that influence programs' effectiveness. Explore variables such as student satisfaction, engagement, and program-specific factors that may contribute to the perceived effectiveness of different services. This will provide a more comprehensive understanding of the drivers of program effectiveness and guide targeted intervention for improvement. Second, enhance scholarship and financial assistance. Given the lower perceived effectiveness of scholarship and financial assistance, it is recommended to review and enhance the availability, accessibility, and communication of financial support programs. Fourth, maintain high standard in health services. Health services were perceived as highly effective, indicating their success in meeting student needs. It is crucial to continue providing timely and comprehensive health services, including regular checkups, access to medical professionals, and mental health support. Fifth, foster collaboration and communication. To enhance overall program implementation and effectiveness, it is recommended to promote collaboration and communication among different departments and stakeholders involved in student programs and services. This can facilitate the sharing of best practices, address challenges, and ensure a coordinated approach in delivering comprehensive supports to students. And last, continuous evaluation and improvement. Regular evaluation of students' programs and services is essential to identify areas of improvement and address emerging needs. Collecting feedback from students, conducting surveys, and engaging in dialogue with stakeholders can provide valuable insights for ongoing enhancement of these programs. That would be the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Once again, good day. Our sixth presenter is Amy Grace Tiriquillo. It is my honor to introduce our distinguished speaker, Amy Grace Tiriquillo. Ms. Riquillo is an accomplished educator and an associate professor at the College of Engineering and Architecture, Computer Engineering Department at Mapua Malayan Colleges, Mindanao. Ms. Riquillo earned her Master's of Engineering degree majoring in Computer Engineering in 2019. Her academic achievements are a testament to her commitment to excellence and her passion for the field of computer engineering. As an associate professor, Ms. Riquillo is highly regarded by her colleagues and students alike for her innovative teaching methods and her dedication to student success. She is known for her ability to inspire and motivate her students to achieve their full potential. Ms. Riquillo's expertise in computer engineering is a wide-ranging, and she has a wealth of knowledge to share with us today. Her research interests including artificial intelligence, machine learning, and computer networking, among others. Her insights and perspectives of these subjects are sure to be informative and thought-provoking. As a speaker, Ms. Riquillo is engaging and eligible, with a gift for explaining complex ideas in a clear and concise manner. Her presentations are always insightful and informative, and are sure to leave a lasting impression. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Amy Grace T. Riquillo as she shares her expertise and insights with us today.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that introduction, Doc. I am so happy. Okay, so good evening, everybody. I am Amy Grace T. Riquillo, and I will be presenting live my title, Imploring Differences in Grades of Computer Programming 1, Student Across 4 Engineering Programs, a Kruskal-Wallis H Test Study. My objectives is the purpose of this analysis is to determine if there are statistically significant differences in grades across the 4 engineering programs in programming 1 subject. My research question is there a significant difference in the mean grades of the students enrolled in computer programming 1 across the 4 different engineering programs? Do the grades of the computer engineering students differ significantly from those of civil engineering students, chemical engineering students, and mechanical engineering students in computer programming 1? So I wanted to answer this question because I am teaching computer programming 1 to vast engineering programs. So I wanted to have the statistically answer about this one. Does it really matter if you are not a computer engineering? Will your grade be different from our department? So this question is justifiable because programming skills are increasingly in demand across various fields, allowing professionals to drive innovation, solve complex problems, collaborate across disciplines, and meet the evolving needs of the modern workforce. For this reason, the programming subject is included in all engineering programs, namely civil, chemical, computer, mechanical, industrial, electrical, electronics, and communications. It is justifiable because it improves the teaching methods. It enhances program curriculum. The program evaluation and accreditation is done by computers or automated systems. And lastly, the career preparedness. It is rampant nowadays that we are all turning from manual to automation. Hence, programming skill is increasingly in demand, not just for computer engineering professionals, but across all fields. The study has the potential to contribute to the improvement of engineering programs in programming subjects, which could ultimately lead to better prepared graduates, improve workforce readiness, and advancement in the field of engineering. So the data collection is from the gradebook of the programming professor that handles programming one subject across 4 engineering programs. This is limited to 160 engineering students enrolled during the third term of school year 2022-2023 in Mapua Malayan Colleges, Mindanao. For that term, there are only 4 engineering programs were able to get the subject. My analytical method and tools are the following. So I've used JASP application, Excel. Next is I use the descriptive statistics to check if my data is normal or not. And I found out that my data is not following the normality of it. So it is a non-parametric data. So that's why it is not, I didn't use the ANOVA, but I used the Kruskal ones. Next is, to answer the second question, I test the post hoc. And Kruskal-Wallis, by the way, is to compare more than 2 groups measured in the same sample. So more than 2 groups because it comes from different engineering programs. It's more than 2. We have chemicals, civil, and mechanical, also the CPE or the computer engineering program. But all of them, they have a common denominator, which is all of them is enrolled in that specific course entitled Programming 1. Now my audience are the following. So I have the students. So the study's findings can help students make informed decisions when selecting course and programs. And it can provide them with information on the strengths and weaknesses of the different engineering programs. Next, academic administrators responsible for program evaluation, accreditation, and quality assurance can use the study's findings to make informed decisions about the effectiveness of their engineering programs. We have also the educators and the instructors. In engineering programs that teach programming courses can benefit from the study's findings. The study can provide insights into effective teaching methods, course content, and curriculum development. which can help improve teaching outcomes. Also, my target audience is the industry professionals, plus the researchers and scholars. Professionals in the technology and engineering industries can also benefit from the study's findings. The study can provide insights into the preparedness of engineering graduates for careers in programming related fields, which can inform workforce development and placement initiatives. Before I will present the results, let me demonstrate how did I arrive in this answer. So first, let's open our JASP application. Next, click this symbol right here at the upper left of the window. Click open and choose locate where did you save your data. In my case, I have already saved it through JASP extension. So let me present how it looks like in this page. So we can see Module 1 grades. It is in a form of a scale. Next, program. So we have 4 programs under the engineering department. So we have the CE stands for Civil Engineering, CHE for Chemical Engineering, CPE for Computer Engineering, and ME for Mechanical Engineering. We have other programs, but the last term, these are the only programs that were able to get the subject. So I have here their Module 1 grades, and I wanted to get the answer, does it really matter if you're not a computer engineering? Does it affect your performance in programming subject? So the next step is let's click descriptives and click Module 1 grades as our variable and program for our split. So we can see the descriptive statistics of my data. So we have here, let's add more. So to determine, we can see the descriptive statistics of my data, Shapiro-Wilk test, kurtosis, and skewness. So after clicking, we can tell that this data is not normal because the value of our Shapiro-Wilk is less than 0.005. Plus, to double check, we can also identify if it's normal or not through the plots, especially the box plots. So this is the QQ plots of the different programs. Next is this is the box plots. As I have remembered, if there is an outliner, then that's an indicator that the data is non-parametric. Rather, the data is not normal. So I cannot delete those outliners because that is what I get from my data. So what are we going to do? Instead of choosing ANOVA, we will check its Kruskal-Wallis. So Kruskal-Wallis is an encounter department wherein it deals with non-parametric data. So we will just use this one. Okay. So we have here Module 1 for dependent and fixed factors, the programs. Next, let's click the descriptive statistics. So we can see the mean. Okay. As we can see, program Civil Engineering got a 66.55, CHE got 66 CPE got 68.25 at 23, and mechanical engineering got 60.5. So it does not really have that big difference. And this is the descriptive plots. I like JAS because it has plenty of tools that we can use for us to visualize the data. So in this case, we can see that Module 1 grades with respect to the programs, we can tell that CPE is the leading, but it's not that wide, or the gap is not that big compared to other programs. So next is, to answer the second question, I enable the post hoc test to check the comparison between programs. So we have here civil engineering to CHE, and the data is showing that it's more than 0.05. Same with the rest. So it does not, or it doesn't have that, or not statistically significant. So after doing that one, we can now conclude based on the result of our data. So next is the results of my study. So the first question is there a significant difference in the mean grades of the students enrolled in Computer Programming 1 across the 4 different engineering programs? Based in the results, the p-value of Kruskal-Wallis test is 0.242, which means that there is no statistically significant difference in the mean grades of the students enrolled in CPE, or the Computer Programming 1, across the 4 different engineering programs. In other words, we failed to reject the null hypothesis that the mean grades of the 4 groups are equal. Next question is, do the grades of the computer engineering students differ significantly from those of the civil engineering students, chemical engineering students, and mechanical engineering students in Computer Programming 1? So based from our post hoc test, our p-value is greater than 0.05. So this is the overall interpretation, which means that there is no statistically significant difference between any of the pairs of means being compared. This result suggests that all of the means being compared are statistically equal. So we can conclude that there is no statistically significant difference between the programs as demonstrated by Kruskal-Wallis, and a 2-key post hoc tests show that CPE engineering students were able to obtain significantly higher grades than the other engineering programs, namely the civil, chemical, and mechanical. There was no statistically significant difference between the civil and chemical, civil and CPE, civil and ME, as well as for chemical to CPE, chemical to ME, computer to ME. So recommendation, based on the result that there is no statistically significant difference in the mean grades of the students enrolled in Computer Programming 1 across the 4 different engineering programs, it can be recommended that the curriculum and instruction for Computer Programming 1 be standardized across all engineering programs to ensure that all students receive the same level of instruction and evaluation. This can help to maintain consistency in the quality of education and ensure that all students have an equal opportunity to succeed in the course regardless of their engineering program. Additionally, these results can be used as a basis for evaluating the effectiveness of the current curriculum and instruction for Computer Programming 1. and for identifying areas for improvement. However, this is important to note that this result is based on specific sample and may not necessarily generalize to other populations. Further studies may be needed to confirm this result and to explore the factors that may influence the academic performance of students in computer programming 1. So that ends my presentation for data analytics. I am Emmy Grace T. Requillo with a study exploring differences in grades of computer programming 1, student across 4 engineering programs at Cruzcal Wallis Age Test Study. So thank you for listening and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Quillo. Our last presenter is Mac Andrew M. Solano. It is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Mac Andrew M. Solano II. Mr. Solano is an accomplished educator and a teacher 3 at the Department of Education. Mr. Solano earned his bachelor's degree in computer engineering and his master's degree in information technology. His academic achievements reflect his dedication to continuous learning and his passion for the field of education. As a teacher 3, Mr. Solano is highly regarded by his colleagues and students alike for his innovative teaching methods and his commitment to student success. He has a gift for inspiring and motivating his students to reach their full potential. Mr. Solano's expertise in computer engineering and information technology is a wide-ranging, and he has a wealth of knowledge to share with us today. He is well-versed in the latest trends and innovation in the field and is always eager to share his insights and perspectives. As a speaker, Mr. Solano is engaging and knowledgeable, with the gift of explaining complex ideas in a clear and concise manner. His presentations are always informative and thought-provoking and are sure to leave a lasting impression. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mac Andrew M. Solano II as he shares his expertise and insights with us today.
Good morning, everyone. I am Mac Andrew M. Solano II, and I am the next presenter for data analytics. Let me start with my objectives. So the purpose of this study analytics is to compare the academic performance of grade 12 students in media and information technology subject by the use of 3 teaching methods. 1, the website as a teaching and learning tool. 2, with the normal learning delivery, which uses only TV or projector and laptop for classes. And 3, the traditional way of teaching and learning process, which is no technology at all. Question number 1, is there a significant difference between the academic performance of grade 12 students between male and female when the website used for teaching and learning process? So the second question of my research is that is there a significant difference between the academic performance of grade 12 students using the website and not using the website for teaching and learning process? So there are 2 scenarios here, by the use of the website, and the other one is without using the website. So I would like to compare the academic performance. Is there a significant difference or is there no significant difference? Then number 3, are there significant differences in the academic performance of grade 12 students using the website, not using the website, but with technology, and purely lecture or traditional for teaching and learning process? So there are 3 data set that I will be using this time. One is for using the website or the LDP, Learning Delivery Platform. Second is using without using the website but using technologies like TV, laptops, and computers, cell phones. And the other one is without using any technology. So is there, I want to compare if there is a significant difference in terms of academic performance of the students. And number 4 question is that what is the correlation between the speed of the website, security of information, sufficiency of data, and ease of use of the website in the academic performance of students using the website as the primary tool for teaching and learning process. Here, I want to describe or to know the correlation between the website's performance and to the student's performance. Thus, really, the website's security, sufficiency of data, ease of use, and speed correlates or has to do with the performance of the students, or does the website really affects the performance of the students? So that's the question. So let's go to justifications. It is important to know that the use of technology such as online and offline platforms can help in the effectiveness of students' learning, not only in MIL subjects but also for the other subjects as well. The comparison between the traditional and the use of technology will show as a big impact on the performance of students. Creating our own, which has exclusivity in the use of website, can help in the teaching and learning process, especially during calamities, pandemic, and other unexpected phenomena that happens. The success of the learning delivery platform will help others understand its importance, and it can also be used for students who prefer distant learning because of several reasons like sickness, work, and home distance. So the data used are the grades and responses of each student in the survey while using the website for learning. The grades where TV and laptop for learning is used and without the use of any of these technologies, which are referred to as traditional way of teaching. It is the best data to test if it is significant in the learning of students in senior high school. In question number 1, the data set used are the grades of the students using the LDP and their gender. In question number 2, the data set used are the grades of students using the LDP and without the use of LDP, and compare it if there is a significant difference using Ware-Coxon's mass paired test. The Ware-Coxon mass paired test is used because there is no symmetry on the data that I have collected. So perhaps there are differences. For question number 3, the data set used are the grades of students in 3 learning conditions, which are with the use of LDP, with the use of gadgets only, and traditional teaching. In question number 3, this is a non-parametric data because there are no symmetry on the data, because when I use descriptives in JASP, the data shows abnormal distributed population. So that's why we will use the non-parametric tests. And for the question number 4, the data set used for linear correlation is the responses of the students to the website speed, security, ease of use, and sufficiency of data that can affect the academic performance of students. So the purpose is to see or to predict if there is correlation or influence of the website speed, security, ease of use, and sufficiency of data in the performance of the students using the website. The analytical methods used number one, statistical techniques are non-parametric. Mann-Whitney U-test to compare the academic performance of students with the use of the Learning Delivery Platform, or the LDP, and without the use of LDP. A non-parametric test using Wilcoxon's masked paired test is also used to compare the academic achievement of male and female. Kroskal-Wallis age test is used to compare the three conditions of learning, which are with the use of the LDP or the website, with the use of other technologies like TV, computers and laptops, and with the traditional teaching and learning process. And on the last question, the linear correlation is used to test if there are correlations between the speed of the website, security of information, sufficiency of data, and ease of use of the website in the academic performance of students. So for question number 1, is there a significant difference between the academic performance of grade 12 students between the male and female with the website used for teaching and learning process? We will use JAS application to check the normality of the population distribution. So we have a data actually. We will just open the JAS application. Then we will locate the file by simply clicking on open computer, then let's browse. The data is already typed in. So here is the data. Now we will conduct first the descriptives using only the with the LDP, so that we can see if there is normality on the data on the data set. So click on descriptives. Okay. Then click on with LDP. So here with LDP means the use of the Learning Delivery Platform for learning. Okay, so these are their grades, and these are the gender, male, female. The number of male and female is not the same, and that makes the data set not symmetric. So let's try to click here on the LDP, then for the gender, for the split. Okay, so then let's go to the output. As we can see here, no value. We use the we remove also the minimum and maximum. We will use only the skewness, kurtosis, and Shapovalov tests. So as you can see here, the skewness should be 0 for symmetry. But if the value of the skewness for male and female is not 0, then it means that or it is not normally distributed. And also the kurtosis value should be 3. But in our case, we have negative 0.896, which means that this is negatively skewed and it is platyportic, and it means that the data distribution is not normal. If this is the case, we cannot use the independent t-test for this sample, for this data set. So we will use the non-parametric, which is the Mann-Whitney test. Okay. So the student is for the parametric and the Mann-Whitney is for the non-parametric tests. So we will again move this to the dependent variables, and the gender is to the grouping variable. So as we can see, that the independent t-test shows that there is a significant difference between the male and female in terms of the academic performance of the students. If we write this in an APA format, so it will say that a Mann-Whitney test indicated that the grade is greater for female, median is equal to 82, than for male, median is equal to 79, where U is equal to 6 and MP is equal to 0.001, which is smaller than the alpha. We're going to look at the for question number 1, is there a significant difference between the academic performance of grade 12 students between male and female when the website used for teaching and learning classes? So here, we're going to compare the academic performance of male and female students. So we will use JAST for the t-tests, or first, before going to use the t-test, we will use the descriptives in order to check for normal distribution of data. So let's open JAST and click on the data. So I name it as independent features first. Then here we can see that there is the grades of the students with LDP, with the use of LDP or learning delivery platform, and on the other side is the gender. So let's try to click descriptives there, and let us add with LDP as our variables and gender as the split. So at the rightmost, we can see the descriptive statistics. So here under the statistics, let us see, let us remove other, which is not needed. So let's use median, skewness, kurtosis, Shapiro Webb, then maximum minimum, we remove that, so we move on to the standardization. So if we're going to look at the data, we can see that the median is 82, and the other one for male is 79, for female is 82. The mean is 82.901, and for male is 80.87. And for the test of symmetry, we can see that the skewness is 0.04 and 0.730. If the skewness is not 0, then is there a significant difference between the academic performance of grade 12 students using the website and not using the website for teaching and learning process? So here we will going to use the data for paired t-test. So let us open JAST and open the data. So this time we will use the paired t-test value. So here, based on our question, is there a significant difference between the academic performance of grade 12 students using the website and not using the website? We are trying to compare the use of website and without the use of website for the academic performance of grade 12 students. So now, we have here the data sets without LDP or without the use of the learning delivery platform or the website, and with the use of the learning delivery platform. Then we have also here the gender, but we are concerned only with these two. So we will use paired t-test for this. First, we will test the distribution normality of the population. First is that we're going to click on the descriptives. And we will use this tool as our variables and the gender as our split. Okay. So for the statistics, again we will use the mode median standard deviation with the skewness, kurtosis, and the Shapiro-Wilk tests. So as you can see here, the skewness is the test for the symmetry of the data set. So as we can see here, without LDP, for male there is negative, for male there is positive, for female this is positive and still positive. So for without LDP, negatively skewed and positively skewed. So they are on both sides, but there's no symmetry because the skewness is not equal to 0 and it is negatively skewed. And also for the female, here it's not equal to 0. If we're going to look at the kurtosis, so all are negatives, which means that these are platycortic and the values are less than 3. And the values are less than 3. So which means that our data set is not normally distributed. Then the p-value for the Shapiro-Wilk is 0.001, which is a strong indication our data distribution is not normal. There is no symmetry on the data set. So which means that we cannot use paired t-test, but instead we will use the Wilcoxon rank sum test. So we will click here on the paired t-test, and then click on the two variables pair there without LDP and LDP. Then we will use, instead of student, we will use Wilcoxon, and we will add some descriptives there. So as you can see that from this test, we can see that there is a significant difference because the p-value is 0.001. So in APA format, we can say that a Wilcoxon's rank tests indicated that without LDP was statistically higher than with LDP because Z is 5.534 and the p-value is less than the alpha, which is 0.05, and its value is 0.001. For question number 3, using JAST application, the question is, are there significant differences in the academic performance of K-12 students using the website, not using the website, but with technology, and purely lecture or traditional for teaching and learning classes? This particular question, we are going to find significance in the academic performance between students using the website, not using the website, but with technologies such as TV, computer, laptop, projector, and cell phones. And the other one is purely lecture or the traditional way of teaching and learning classes. So let us open the data in JAST so that we can see the output. So we will use this data in because this is the data for the question number 3. So these are the grades, and the other side is the conditions. So we have 3 conditions here: condition 1, condition 2, and condition 3. So first, what we're going to do is to conduct a descriptives on the data set. First, the grades. We will move the grades to the variables. Then condition to split. So in the statistics, we remove valid, mixing, minimum, maximum, skewness, kurtosis, and separable shall be checked. So let us examine the descriptive statistics. So as we can see here, the skewness is negative for condition 1, and that is negative 0.120, and positive on conditions 2 and 3. So this skewness indicates that there is no symmetry on all of the variables, that the population is not normally distributed. So the kurtosis also shows a negatively skewed graph. So it means that there is no normal distribution among the population. And for the Shapiro-Wilk, we can see that the value or the p-value for the Shapiro-Wilk for condition 1 is 0.07, condition 2 is 0.001, and 0.001 also for condition 3. This is a strong indicator that the population is not normally distributed. So which means that we cannot use ANOVA for this, because ANOVA is for parametric test only. So this one will use Kroskal-Wallis test for non-parametric tests. So first, to do that, first we go to ANOVA, then click on ANOVA. Then we add this one to the determined variable and the condition to the X factors. Then we go to the assumption checks. So we have assumption checks now. Now we have to go to the post hoc test, or gives a statistical difference among the different methods of teaching. So, and also we will click on the Shapiro-Wilk and the non-parametrics to see if there is a significant difference among the teaching conditions. Okay. So here we can see in the ANOVA we have the p-value, which is 0.001, and for post-ad hoc, a comparison of condition 1 and condition 2, we have the PTK, which is 0.044, which is less than 0.05, which means that there is a significant difference between the two, condition 1 and 2. And for condition 1 and 3, we have the PTK 0.001, which has significant difference with 1 and 3. And for number 2, still, we have the value of PTK, which is 0.001, which indicates that there is a significant difference between the teaching condition 2 and teaching condition 3. The Kroskal-Wallis shows in APA format that a Kroskal-Wallis H test shows that there was a statistical difference in grades between the different teaching methods, where x sub 2 or x squared times 2 is 45.074, and p-value is 0.001, with the mean grades of 79.48 for traditional, 81.607 for with LBP, and 82.82 without the use of LBP.
For question number 4, what is the correlation between the speed of the website, security of information, sufficiency of data, and ease of use of the website in the academic performance of the students using the website as the primary tool for teaching and learning process? Here, what we are trying to determine is the correlation of the 4 variables or the predictors with the academic performance of the students. So to determine if the 4 predictors variables, which are the speed, security, sufficiency of data, and ease of use, can predict the academic performance of students using the LDP, first we run a quick descriptives using the JASP. So let us open first JASP application, and let us use the data that we have typed here already. So I name it as correlation. Okay, so here are the data sets. So we have 4 independent variables: speed, security, sufficiency, ease of use, and 1 dependent variables. Now for the descriptives, we're going to click on descriptives and click on the variables and transfer it here. After that, we click on statistics because we are only interested with the mean and the standard deviation. So after the descriptives, we will now go to the multiple regression. So we will click the regression, then correlation. Then here, in the variables, we need to input the dependent variable first, then the independent variables. So if we're going to look at the person's correlations and their coefficients, so as you can see that on these coefficients of performance, speed, their correlation is really not that strong. So which means that there is no indication that there is a strong correlation, and we can proceed with our regression. So if the variables are not strongly correlated, then we are safe. But what does it mean if it is strongly correlated? So if the values here is greater than 0.70, then there is a really rather strong correlation between the variables. If there is a strong correlation between the variables, there are 3 things that you can do. First is you can merge some of the variables if it is possible based from the theoretical perspective. Second is that you can remove or delete one of the variable. And third is that you can reanalyze all the variables and run a factor analysis, and then check for factor analysis, which is checking for the collinearity statistics, and also to check for multi-collinearity. We can look at the coefficients here, and on the collinearity statistics we can see that the values of the BIF is 1.136, which means 1.159, 1.466, and 1.451, which is lower than 3, a strong indication that there is no collinearity. In multiple regression, there are 2 things that we are testing for the predictors. One is the collective influence of the dependent variables, and it is also called as the variance explained. So here in our model summary, the R is the correlation coefficient as a whole, or the collective association of the predictive variables. R squared is the variance explained of the predictors that are used on this. So if we're going to multiply 0.016 by 100, we will get 1.6. And the 1.6 means in 100%, there are only 1.6 percent that the combination of 4 can be explained, and the 84% is the other factors that are not explored on this particular study. Next is the tests of significance that R2 is different from 0, which means that if R2 significance is 0, then it does not predict the academic performance. To do this, we're going to check on the ANOVA table with p-value if it is less than 0.05. So the p-value of the ANOVA is greater than 0.05, which indicates that the R2 is equal to 0. If the value of R2 is equal to 0, then there is no significant influence by the 4 predictors to the dependent variable. The influence of the variable as a whole or as one by looking at the p-value in the ANOVA is 0.805, which means that there is no direct influence when combined as one. But now we are going to look at the individual influence of each of the variable if there is a unique influence of each of these independent variables. By looking at the p-value of the coefficients, we can say that the speed is 0.302, which is higher than 0.05. And for the security, we have 0.592, which is higher than 0.05. And the sufficiency is 0.05, which is greater than 0.05, the alpha, and ease of use is 0.961, which is greater than the alpha, which is 0.05. So even on the individual influence, we can see that there is no significant influence by the predictors to the independent variables. Thank you very much for listening, and good day.
What a great day, full of fruitful and very comprehensive discussion shared by our esteemed panel of presenters and evaluators. Thank you very
Okay, good evening. It's my pleasure to ask the first question. I would like to ask Sir Estabilio for the first question. What are your essential points in choosing the best statistical tool in your data analytics?
Okay, thank you for that question, Mr. Solano. So here is my essential points in choosing the best statistical tool in my data analytics. Number one is identify the type of data for us to determine whether the data is categorical or continuous. This will help you to choose the appropriate statistical method for analysis. Another is to identify the research question. So this will help you to choose the statistical method that will best answer your question. Another one is the sample size. So consider the size of your sample. As a small sample size may require a different statistical method compared to a larger sample size. Another is the level of measurement to determine whether your data is nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. So this will help you to choose the appropriate statistical tool. And assumptions, let's be aware of the assumption of its statistical method because some methods require a certain assumption to be met, such as normality. And of course, the software availability. So we have to choose statistical tool that is available in our software that are familiar with and have access to. And the last one is I have to consider the audience because consider who will be reviewing your analysis and choose a statistical tool that is appropriate for your audience and their level of statistical knowledge. So in choosing my statistical tool, it depends on the research question, data type, sample size, level of measurement, assumption, software, availability, and audience. So it is important to choose the tool that best suits the data and research question to obtain the accurate, reliable results.
Okay, so I think it's my turn. I am the second evaluator for Doc James Aldrin. My question for you, Doc, is aside from t-test tool, is there other way to measure the effectiveness of remediation class program on academic performance of TLE students of the KNC SHJHS?
Yes, Doc Annie. So yes, there are several other statistical tools and methods that can be used to measure the effectiveness of a remedial class program on academic performance. So these are the examples. One is the ANOVA, or the analysis of variance. So this is statistical tool can test to be used to compare the mean scores of more than two groups. And of course, another is the regression analysis. So this statistical method can be used to model the relationship between the two or more variables, such as the impact of remediation class programs on the academic performance, while the controlling of other variables like the socioeconomic status or previous academic performance. So it is important to choose the appropriate statistical tool or method based on the specific research question and the available data. So additionally, it's important to consider other factors such as the quality of instruction and program implementation when evaluating the effectiveness of a remedial class program on academic performance. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Doc James.
Hello, good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon. This is for Doc Gonzaga Archie.
Hello, this is my question to Sir Archie. What are the key findings of the data analysis in assessing the impact of class-in learning management system on student learning outcomes? And how do these findings help us to understand the effectiveness of this technology in supporting student learning and engagement?
Thank you very much for the question, Dr. Heda. The LMS are actually software applications designed to facilitate the learning and activities such as creating, delivering online courses, tracking students' progress, and providing assessments and feedback. The learning management, specifically the class-in, is actually widely used in the educational institutions such as our institutions to support both traditional and online learning environment. But the research studies have shown that the LMS or the class-in can move positive impact to students' learning outcomes and engagements. And some of the key findings which are included. Number one is the flexibility and convenience, where the learning management systems provides students with flexibility and convenience to access course materials and resources anytime and anywhere. This flexibility allows students to pace their learning according to their needs, which can improve their motivations and engagement. Second is their personalization. The learning management system also allows teachers to personalize learning experiences for each of the students. based on their individual learning needs and preferences and progress. This personalized approach can help students to achieve their better learning outcomes and feel more engaged in the learning process. Third is the collaboration and communication. The learning management system, specifically Class-Ins, facilitates collaborations and communications among students and teachers, which can also improve their social presence and also their sense of community and engagement in the course. And finally, the tracking and the assessment, where our learning management system, specifically the Class-In, provides teachers with tools, tracks, and assess students' progress and performance, which can help them to identify areas of improvement and provide timely feedback for students. Thank you very much for your question, Sir Dr. Jason.
Okay, good afternoon. The next question is for Doc Archie Gonzaga. How do the results of your data analysis contribute to our broader understanding of potential benefits and limitation of using learning management systems like Class-In to support teaching and learning? And what are the implications of these findings for educations looking to implement these tools in their own educational setting?
Thank you very much, Doc Floremy, for that question. Actually, the results of the data analysis in the impact of Class-In or other learning management systems can actually contribute to a broader understanding of potential benefits and limitation of such using these tools to support teaching and learning by identifying the strengths and weaknesses of the specific learning management. As an educator of that institution, this can also make an informed decisions about whether or not to adopt a certain technology and how to use it effectively. And the potential benefits of using the LMS or the learning management systems like Class-Ins to support the teaching and learning includes the following. First is it increased flexibility and convenience, where the learning management provides students to access the course materials and resources anytime and anywhere, which can increase their flexibility and convenience while they are also learning. Second is improved students' engagement, where the learning management also can provide more interactive and engaging while they are learning by incorporating such multimedia content, gamification, and other social learning features. Third, it also enhanced collaborations and communication, where the learning management system, specifically the Class-Ins, facilitate collaborations and communications among the learners and teachers, which can be improved or which can improve the sense of community and engagement in the course. And finally, it also enhance assessment and feedback, where the learning management system can provide the teachers with tools and tracks and assess students' progress and performance, which can help them to provide timely and targeted feedback of students. But however, there are also potential limitations to using this kind of learning management, which include technical difficulties that the learning management can sometimes be difficult to use, or any experiences technical difficulties which can disrupt the learning experience. Second is the lack of personalization, where the learning management can sometimes be limited in their ability to provide truly personalized learning experience for students. And finally, potentials for disengagement, where the learning management system can sometimes lead to students feeling isolated and disconnected from learning experience, and particularly the course content is not engaging or interactive. Thank you very much for your question, Ma'am Flority.
Okay, Doc Riquilio, do you have a question to Doc Pasha?
Okay. Good evening, Doc Pasha.
Good evening, Doc.
Okay, for you, my question is based on the results of the data analytics, what recommendations can be made for institutions and educators who are looking to optimize the effectiveness of their teaching and learning practices, particularly in light of the increasing prevalence of online learning formats?
Okay, so thank you for that question, Doc. So based on the results of the paired t-test, which indicate that there is no significant difference in the effectiveness of in-class and online learning modes in improving student performance, I have the following recommendation. First is institutions should consider offering both in-class and online learning modes to accommodate the different needs and preference of students. So students should be provided with information about the advantages and disadvantages of both modes of learning and given the opportunity to choose the mode that is most suitable for them. Second, educators should consider the course content and learning objectives when deciding on the mode of learning to adapt. So some courses may be more effectively taught using in-class mode, while others may be more effectively taught using online mode. So therefore, educators should consider the unique needs of each course and tailor their teaching methods accordingly. The third, institution should provide training and resources to educators to support the effective implementation of both in-class and online learning modes. So these can include training on best practices for teaching in different modes. So technology, support, and resources for developing course content for different modes of learning. So, and lastly, further research should be conducted to investigate the comparative effectiveness of in-class and online learning in other subject areas and institutions to provide a more comprehensive understanding of the factors that influence the effectiveness of different modes of learning. So that's all, Doc Riquillo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Doc Archie, you have question to Doc Pasha. Doc Archie Gonzaga. Okay.
Okay.
Ask question to Doc Edison.
My question to Doc Pasha is, what are the key insights obtained from the parity test analysis of difference scores in comparing the effectiveness of class and an online learning? And how do these insights inform our understanding of the differences between two modes of learning?
So, okay, thank you, Doc Archie, for that question. So, the paired TTS analysis of the difference scores between in-class and online learning allows us to determine if there is a significant difference in the mean scores between the two modes of learning. So, in this case, the mean score of students who took in in-class learning was slightly higher than the mean score of students who took online learning, but the difference was not statistically significant at the 0.05 alpha level. So one key insight we can gain from this analysis is that there may be some benefits to in-class learning, but the difference between in-class and online learning is not substantial enough to be considered statistically significant. So another insight is that the variability of scores was higher in the in-class mode, which is the S is equals to 6291 compared to the online mode, which is S equals to 4.635, which suggests that in-class learning may have a wider range of outcomes. So overall, these insights suggest that both in-class and online learning can be effective, and that the choice between the two modes of learning may depend on individual preference and circumstances. So it is important to note, however, that this analysis is limited to the specific sample and measures used. and may not be generalized to other contexts or measure. So that's all, Doc Archie. Thank you.
Okay, Doc Estabilio, it's your turn to question Doc Ojeda.
Okay, my research question for Doc Pujeda is, could you explain why you use both the paired t-test and the independent t-test in your analysis? And what were the key differences between the two tests?
Thank you for that question, Doc James. Regarding the use of both paired t-test and independent t-test in my analysis, I choose to use these tests because they are both appropriate for addressing different research questions. The independent t-test was used to compare the study habits of pupils who use a study planner and those who do not. And the result indicates a statistically significant difference between the two groups. This finding suggests that using a study planner is associated with better study habit among pupils. The PERT test was used to compare the study habit of pupils before and after using a study planner. And the result also showed that statistically significant difference, indicating that using a study planner can lead to significant improvement in study habits. Now, the key difference between these two tests is that the independent t-test compares the means of two separate groups, while the paired t-test compares the means of the same group before and after a treatment or intervention.
Okay, thank you, Doc Jason.
Welcome, Doc James.
Okay, Doc Solana, it's your turn to ask question to Doc Ojeda.
Okay, this is my question, Doc. How did you ensure that multicollinearity is not present in the variables used in the multiple regression analysis?
Thank you for that question, Doc Ma. Regarding the potential issue of multicollinearity in the variable used in my multiple regression analysis, I made sure to check for this examining the tolerance and VIF values. The tolerance value measures the proportion of variation in one predictor variable that is not explained by the other predictor variable, while the VIF value measures the degree to which the variance of the estimate of regression coefficient is increased due to multicollinearity. The result of my analysis showed that there were no multicollinearity issue among the predictor variables, suggesting that each predictor variable contributes unique information to the model. This finding is important because it suggests that parental involvement and technology use are important factors in promoting good study habit among pupils, while learning style and motivation have weaker association with study habit. Overall, my study provides valuable insight into the factors that influence study habit among pupils and highlights the importance of using study planner in improving study habits.
Okay, Doc Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you po.
Doc Pasha and Doc Estabilio, it's your turn to ask questions regarding in my presentation.
Okay. So my question is to Doc Remigio. Doc Remigio, my question is, how might the results of your analysis impact future decision-making or strategies related to the student programs and services?
Okay, thank you for that question, Sir Edwin and Doc Edwin. The analysis suggests no significant link between program implementation and effectiveness for student programs. This has important implications. First, reassessing implementation strategies based on findings. Second, considering other factors that influence program effectiveness. Third, prioritizing evaluation and monitoring of program impact. Fourth, encouraging interdisciplinary collaboration to address program complexities. Fifth, customizing programs to suit institution and student needs. And last, embracing continuous improvement to enhance program effectiveness. Overall, a nuanced and multifaceted approach is needed for decision-making in student programs. considering context, additional variables, evaluation, and adaptation to improve student success and well-being. That's all, Doc Pasha. Thank you for your
Thank you,
question.
Doc.
Okay, for my question for you, Doc Remy. So, what are some areas for improvements that were identified based on the study's results?
Okay, thank you for your question, Doc Stabilio. Based on the study's results, areas for improvement in student programs and services in Sultan Kudarat State University include: first, enhancing scholarship and financial assistance processes and criteria; second, improving variety, quality, and accessibility of food services; third, expanding health services and wellness initiatives; fourth, ensuring consistent implementation across services; fifth, promoting collaboration and communication among departments; and last, establishing regular evaluation and feedback mechanism. Addressing those areas will enhance the quality and effectiveness of student programs and services at the university. Thank you, Doc James, for that question.
Okay, you're welcome, Doc Lorlene.
Okay, now, do you have question, Doc Pasha to Dr. Quilio?
Okay, so here is my question to Dr. Kelly. So, Dr. Kelly, what was the basis of your implementation of the crystal wallis?
My basis for the Crystal Wallis is during the testing of my data. So upon testing it, I've discovered that it is a non-parametric statistical test. It is used to compare three or more independent groups. So I thought that it's ANOVA, but it's not because it is a non-parametric. So that's why I use the Crystal Wallis as my statistical tool for my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc Pasha.
Okay, Doc Archie?
I have a question. My question to Doc Emmy: how can the results impact the teaching approach of programming to all the engineering programs?
The results of that test would not have a maybe direct impact yet, but I can see that the result could provide insights for the improvement of the curriculum, especially in teaching programming to all engineering programs. So, for example, the result of that test indicates that there is a significant difference in programming performance between students who receive different types of instructions. So, there is two. Some of the students is a lecture-based versus those project-based programming classes. Then this could suggest that one approach is more effective than the other. So in this case, educators may want to consider adjusting their teaching approach to emphasize the more effective method. I myself, I would like to really check if I am still doing or am I still giving the best approach in teaching programming to my students. So ultimately, the impact of the Kruskal-Wallis test results on teaching approach of programming, but again, it will depend on the findings and the decisions made by the educators. So thank you for that question, Doc Gonzaga.
Okay, Doc Pojeda, do you have a question to Doc Solano?
Yes, I have a question to Doc Mac. My question for Doc Mac is, why did you use Crystal-Wallis test for the question number 3 in your data analytics?
Thank you very much for that question, Doc Jason. So upon checking on the descriptives of the data sets, I found out that the distribution of the population is not normal. So when the data are not normally distributed, a non-parametric statistical test called the Kruskal-Wallis test is used to compare three or more independent groups. In situations where the assumptions of normality is broken, it is frequently employed as an alternative to the one-way ANOVA tests. So instead of the one-way ANOVA, it will be the Kruskal-Wallis tests. The test compares the ranks among groups and ranks the data inside each category. The p-value is computed using a chi-square distribution, and the test statistic is computed using the sum of the rankings for each group. A high p-value denotes a substantial difference between at least one of the groups from the rest. That's all, Doc. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Doc Mac.
Okay, Doc Ma, this is my question for you. How can you describe variance explained from your question number 4?
Okay, thank you very much, Doc Florlin, for that question. So the statistical measure known as the variance explained, also referred as explained variance, indicates the percentage of variability in a data set that can be explained by a given variable or collection of factors. In regression analysis, where the objectives is to comprehend how changes in one or more indefinite variables affect the result of a dependent variable, is frequently utilized. So the coefficient of determination, which represents the percentage of the total variation in the dependent variable that is explained by independent variables, can be used to determine the variance explained. Higher values of the R-squared coefficients of determination, which runs from 0 to 1, show that a greater fraction of the variance in the dependent variable is explained by the independent variables. For instance, if the R-squared value is 0.7, the independent variables in the model can account for 70% of the variance in the dependent variable. A high R-squared value suggests that the model is good fit and can account for the substantial portion of the variation in the data, whereas a low R-squared value shows that the model is not good fit for the data. Thank you very much for your question, Dr. Florlin.
What a great day, full of fruitful and very comprehensive discussion shared by our esteemed panel of presenters and evaluators. Thank you very much. At this time, let us all listen to closing remarks.
As we come to the end of this data analytics webinar, I want to take a moment to thank our presenters and participants for their valuable contributions and engagement throughout this event. Your insights and expertise had been instrumental in making this webinar a success. We have learned so much about the latest trends, techniques, and tools in data analytics, and how they can be applied to real-world problems. The presentation and discussion have been both informative and thought-provoking, and I am confident that we have all gained new perspective and ideas from this webinar. As we wrap up this event, I encourage all of us to continue to stay curious and engaged in a rapidly evolving field of data analytics. Let us build upon the knowledge and connections we have gained here today to drive innovation and make meaningful contribution to our institution and society. Once again, thank you to our presenters and participants for this participation, and I look forward for the future opportunities to collaborate and learn from one another. I would like also to thank our professor, Dr. Edna Salva, for your guiding supports, and thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Estabilio. Now, let us offer a prayer for the success of this webinar.
Okay, so let us put ourselves into the presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, dear God, as we come to the end of this online webinar, we are grateful for the opportunity to gather virtually and learn from one another. We thank you for the speakers who share their knowledge and wisdom, and for the participants who engage with open hearts and minds. We ask that you bless each person who joined us today. May the information and insights shared be useful in their lives and works. May they leave feeling inspired and encouraged to make positive changes in their communities and the world. We also ask for your guidance and protections as we go out into the world. Help us to use the knowledge we gain today for good and to be a positive force in the lives of those around us. Thank you, God, for the gift of learning and the technology that allowed us to gather online today. We pray that we may continue to use these tools to connect with one another and make the world a better place. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you have learned something new and valuable about data analytics. Have a great day!
Okay, congrats!
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Doc.
Doc Edna.
Thank you, Doc.
muna ang recording. After I need to explain the manuscript. Ano mo na sa recording.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank you po, Doc.
Recording ka mo?
Thank you, Doc Edna.
Okay na po, Doc. Mali yung records namin.
Regarding sa manuscript, it creates a misconception, no? So many are worried kay